Welcome to today's explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to explore exactly how to transform highly technical 3D animation into living, breathing character performances. If you've ever watched an animated character walking, running, or even just turning around on screen and thought to yourself, wow, that actually feels real, well, you've witnessed something incredibly special. We're taking a fascinating journey from the mathematical to the magical today, and I promise you, by the end of this, you're going to look at character movement in a completely different way.
But first, we have to tackle a question that haunts almost every animator at some point in their career. Imagine this. You've spent hours, maybe even days, meticulously plotting out an action. The character moves perfectly from point A to point B, your keyframes are mathematically flawless, the character rig is working without a single glitch, and yet, when you hit play, the character just feels dead. It feels mechanical. It's a hugely common frustration, right? The technique is all there, the math is right, but that spark of life is completely missing. So what exactly is that missing ingredient?
Well, more often than not, it comes down to something called leading motion. Now, it's really important to get this straight right off the bat. Leading motion isn't some magical software tool, and it isn't a button you just press in a program. Specifically within the Ava Thomas Studio methodology, it's defined as a crucial creative workflow. It's the principle where one single body part initiates an action and the rest of the body naturally follows. It's about mimicking how real life actually works. Because think about it, in reality, nothing on a human body moves all at once. Something always has to go first. There is always an initiator.
Let's break down a really simple, everyday reaction to show you what I mean. Imagine a character suddenly hears their name called from across the room. At exactly 0.1 seconds, the eyes dart toward the sound. That is the lead. Then, at 0.3 seconds, the head turns to follow those eyes. At 0.6 seconds, the shoulders rotate to support the head. And finally, a full second in, the hips and torso adjust to complete the motion. Do you see it? It's this micro-delay cascading effect. It's a deeply active physical chain reaction where absolutely every movement is born from the one right before it. To truly understand why this works so well, we kind of have to look at human psychology. We observe body language every single day, and honestly, our brains are incredibly good at spotting a fake. If you animate a character hearing a sound and every single body part turns together on the exact same frame, what we call synchronized movement, your brain instantly rejects it. It reads as robotic and mechanical, no way around it. But when we use layered movement, allowing those micro delays to cascade through the body, your brain immediately registers it as natural, connected, intentional behavior. The takeaway here, real movement is layered. It is never synchronized.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a highly practical system. The Ava Thomas Studio methodology breaks this down into a really intuitive four-step workflow. First, find the leader. Second, create the follow. Third, add weight. And fourth, support emotion. Let's walk through each of these.
All right, step 1. Find the leader. This phase is all about discovering the intention behind the movement.
Listen, before you ever touch a keyframe, you literally have to stop and ask yourself, which body part would naturally initiate this action? Here are a few common leaders just to give you some context. If a character is simply noticing something, the eyes usually lead the way. If they're at a starting line preparing to sprint, the hips often initiate that explosive forward movement. Or if they're reaching for an object on a high shelf, the shoulder actually begins the upward movement slightly before the hand even extends. So the crucial point is that finding the correct leader gives the entire animation its fundamental intention. It tells your audience exactly what the character is trying to do before they even fully do it.
Once you have your leader, we move right along to step 2, create the follow. This is all about connecting the system.
Okay, so you have your starting point, but now the rest of the body has to respond. The absolute secret here is that the response cannot happen instantly. Tiny offsets create flow. The neck follows the eyes, the chest follows the neck, the arms react, and the hands finish the motion. Now, these micro delays might only be separated by tiny fractions of a second, but I'm telling you, it is this small timing change that yields a massive difference in realism. Instead of a clunky collection of disconnected parts moving at the same time, the body starts behaving like one deeply connected, organic system.
Next up is step 3, add weight and momentum. It is time to ground the character in reality. Characters aren't just floating around in a void, right? They exist in a physical world with gravity. Leading motion actually prepares the body for this reality. Let's look at this vivid example of lifting a heavy box. You don't just reach out and pull up in one clean motion. First, at the start, your hips shift to establish a solid center of gravity. Next, your torso leans into the action. Then, your arms tense up to grip the weight. And only at the very end does the box actually leave the ground. By mapping out how momentum builds naturally from the hips all the way up through the arms, you give that character a real physical presence. Your audience can actually feel the weight of that box through the sequence of the character's movements.
And finally, step 4, support the emotion. This is all about storytelling through motion.
We are now officially moving from the physics of animation into the pure art of acting, because ultimately, leading motion is your best storytelling tool. It reveals internal thoughts without needing a single line of dialogue, and this brilliantly illustrates how we can map mechanics directly to emotion. For example, if the emotion is nervous, the leader might be a tiny, hesitant shift, resulting in a twitchy, hesitant flow. If the emotion is confident, the leader might be a bold thrust of the chest, resulting in assertive, powerful posture. Or if the character is frightened, their eyes might dart wildly long before their feet ever decide to run, resulting in a paralyzed reaction. It's the exact same physical action, say walking into a room, but it communicates completely different emotions simply by changing what body part leads the way.
And this brings us to the ultimate payoff. By doing this, we are moving away from simple movement, where characters just react like robots blindly executing keyframes. Instead, we are achieving a true performance, where characters genuinely appear to think before they act and make actual decisions. Look, audiences watching a film or playing a game don't consciously notice these tiny timing differences. They aren't counting the frames, but they absolutely feel them. They feel the illusion of a character possessing a working mind.
So, the next time you're looking at a scene that feels stiff, mechanical, or robotic, you need to challenge yourself. Stop trying to fix it by just throwing more keyframes at the problem. Step back, look at your character, and ask this one fundamental question. Who moves first? Once you find that answer, the rest of the body will know exactly what to do.
I want to leave you with this incredibly powerful thought from the source material. Great animation isn't about making everything move. It's about making every movement mean something. By applying layered movement, you give your characters a mind, a physical presence, and a real heartbeat. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. The next time you sit down to animate a scene, I want you to ask yourself, are you just making your character move, or are you finally letting them live?